with that, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully a few more individuals join us. But hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Dunning. I work at Arizona State University, and I am so thrilled to be part of the Ashoka U network, as ASU has been a changemaker campus for many years, and to facilitate the conversation today that is titled, really appropriately, Local to Global Impact, with a discussion around project-based learning, connecting students to industry. Without everyone being here, this wouldn't be as dynamic of a conversation. So I really look forward to speaking with you all in different formats and actually spending most of the time hearing from others, listening and learning as well. With that, if at any point you have a question, I will be monitoring the chat, as well as you have the option to unmute if you would like to ask something to the presenters. We'll do two quick presentations as an overview. So we'll get into the details for two different perspectives on two different programs from two different institutions, share some insights, tools, and lessons learned, and then we'll interact via the Q&A. So I have a few questions prepared, but I'm really excited to help facilitate any discussion with questions from others as well. So we look forward to the conversation today, and thank you so much for being here. And with that preview, we'll go ahead and get started with Nima.
Hi everyone, my name is Nima Farshan. I'm the director of the Center for Social Value Creation at the University of Maryland. Today we're going to be discussing our Impact Consulting Fellowship and how it was a response to COVID-19. Next slide, please. So throughout the presentation, we'll talk about the center and our work here at CSVC, the issues we faced, how we launched our Impact Consulting Fellowship, and where we've taken it since last summer to the fall and spring, and where we're looking to continue this project-based learning opportunity for our students moving forward. Next slide. So our mission at CSVC is to educate, engage, and empower the Smith community at the University of Maryland and the world through thought-provoking dialogue, thought leadership, and hands-on experience. We work in our business school to create opportunities where our students can see the intersection of where business, purpose, and profit work together and not in contrast to create that greatest opportunity, so that our students can see where their future careers can help become those change makers. And being a change maker campus and hosting the exchange in prior years, how this is intersectional through all dimensions of their work. Next slide. The work we do with our students is really focused around three focal points: experiential learning, including this Impact Consulting Fellowship, case competitions, and other work both inside and outside the classroom, being able to share how their work is directly related to impact-driven organizations and how they can be change makers at any age level. Instructional integration, we work with our faculty on how we can best showcase that social impact is not something separate from the coursework, but is directly integrated into the work that our students do. So whether it is cases that can be integrated into the coursework, different speakers, or showcasing how the current existing curriculum can be enhanced with having a social value creation focus, and thought leadership, working with different thought partners in our alumni, faculty, staff networks to showcase the future of business and how it has really evolved since 2019 in the Business Roundtable's announcement, from corporate social responsibility to ESG and a focus on the SDGs. Next slide, please. And our ultimate purpose is to create a world where businesses operate for the long-term value of both people and planet, and showcasing how our community can be the catalyst for this in society. Next slide. So last April, as many were faced, we were faced with the COVID-19 pandemic for all of our students, our staff, our faculty, and our local businesses. We saw that many students at the undergrad, MBA, and master's levels had their internships, their future jobs, and even their potential immigration statuses canceled or put on hold due to the pandemic and due to the challenges that we were facing. We wanted to provide a high quality engagement opportunity for these students when their in-person opportunities were no longer in existence. But we realized that there was a greater need for our community, whether it was our local businesses, our alumni, or whoever it might be that are stakeholders in our greater ecosystem. We saw that we had the human capital, but what we were lacking was opportunities that were high enough to support those organizations that surround us. Next slide. So from this came our Impact Consulting Fellowship. This was originally a summer-long 8-week interdisciplinary project. And what we mean by interdisciplinary was that we had teams where one MBA student, whether it was a part-time or full-time MBA, led a team of 2 to 3 master's students and 3 to 4 undergraduate students from across the campus, regardless of major, working on an impact-driven organization. We worked with B Corps, we worked with nonprofits, we worked with impact-driven for-profits. As long as the mission and the work of the project was relevant, we had our students focused on this. And what we really saw was helpful was having these interdisciplinary teams where MBAs were getting those real leadership opportunities where they were able to actually manage a team of individuals. Master students were getting that direct content work and were able to bring their expertise. And undergraduates were able to get that real world experiential opportunity that they would have been missing outside of. Now, how we ensured this program would be value driven for all individuals in addition to the client was for our students, we had faculty coaching sessions and boot camps throughout the course, from how to be a consultant to engaging stakeholders to survey development to how to pitch this for future careers from our faculty. But we also paired each team with one alumni who was focused as either a content area expert for the project or a general consultant who was able to then give back and help coach that entire team, in particular the MBAs, on how to have a successful project. Next slide. So throughout the course of the summer, we had 145 participants work on 23 different projects, and we saw that our work impacted all of the sustainable development goals. We had a 96% satisfaction rate across the board from both our students, our alumni advisors, and the companies. And what we really saw was that impact was the reason for the positive results was that the students were able to work with demographics that they wouldn't have normally worked with. In our university, MBAs and undergrads typically never associate with one another, and being able to break those walls in a virtual world, regardless of what campus they might be on, really was a positive driver for the experience. We also saw from the organizations being able to have that diversity in thought was extremely rewarding, but also for the alumni, being able to give back no matter where they were in the world with a virtual project was extremely rewarding. And we saw that this is something that will be a staple of this fellowship moving forward. Next slide, please. So since the fellowship has started, we continued with a fall iteration and now a spring iteration. Since then, we are now at 31,000 hours of pro bono consulting on 44 projects with 275 different students in the past calendar year. We're looking to continue growing these partnerships, and we've seen that for some of our impact-driven organizations, having a multi-part, multi-semester project has been most rewarding, whereas for others, it's been more rewarding having a project and then revisiting the impact we've had a year later for a follow-up project. Another thing that we did for the Impact Consulting Fellowship was create a handbook which documented every step of the project as we went forward, from our surveys to our onboarding to how we engaged our clients. And this is a publicly available document in the link tree that I just put in the chat room, as well as other information about our center. We really want to have that opportunity for other universities to tailor it to what works best for their own communities. And we're really trying to expand this mindset that project-based learning, whether you're working in a local or global area, really enhances the student experience, from giving them that real world impact in the middle of a pandemic to be able to increased your entire alumni base and faculty community, we've really seen the positive impacts. The last interesting thing that we did is we've actually opened up the program to incoming students as well. And for the summer, we had incoming MBAs, and for the spring, we've had incoming undergraduates participate. And for the MBAs, we saw that those were the students that then became the track leaders. Those were the students who immersed in the culture smoother. And we're really seeing that positive impact of opening it up to everyone in the community, whether they've been on campus -5 days, a week, a month, a year, or have graduated and are now supporting this alumni. Next slide, please. So thank you so much for your time. Scanning this QR code will link you to the link that was dropped in the chat. And if you have any questions, look forward to chatting after the next presentation.
Great, thank you so much, Nima. And then I don't know who's going to kick it off from the University of St. Thomas, but feel free to take it away from here.
Thanks, Lauren. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah. I am one of the associate directors in the Office of Study Abroad at the University of St. Thomas. I'm joined by my colleagues today to talk about a global virtual micro internship program that we created in response to COVID-19. As you know, study abroad programs were suspended last spring. They have been slow to restart as the pandemic has continued. And so we were looking for ways to continue to engage students in international opportunities. So as this micro internship was created for COVID and in response to COVID, we actually hope that it will continue long after travel becomes available again, because it has really turned into a fabulous collaboration between our office in study abroad, our Rome campus, and our Career Development Center. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about the University of St. Thomas. We are located, our main campus is in St. Paul, Minnesota, but we actually have campuses as well in Minneapolis, so just across the river, and then in Rome. We are a comprehensive Catholic liberal arts university with about 10,000 students when you combine undergraduate and graduate students, which makes us the largest private institution in the state of Minnesota. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Jen.
Thanks, Sarah. We are really proud of our study abroad program at the University of St. Thomas. It is consistently ranked in the top 20 study abroad programs in the country for undergraduate participation. We most recently reached number 17 on that list. Out of those students that we have, about 10,000, we're sending about 800 to 1,100 undergraduates abroad per year. So we're really proud of that participation. And those students are going abroad through either our own faculty-led and managed programs or programs that are with our partners or institutions we work with abroad. One of those being our own Bernardi campus, which is located in Rome, Italy. So I'll let the director of the Bernardi campus, Thanos, share a little bit about that with you.
Thank you, Jen. Good afternoon, everyone, and greetings from Rome, Italy. My name is Thanos Zingas, and I'm the director of the University of St. Thomas's campus in Rome. Our satellite location is in the heart of the Eternal City, and we have the pleasure of welcoming 3 different academic student groups throughout the academic year, fall and spring semesters and January term, with students from a variety of majors, mainly business, communications, Catholic studies, science, and others. Our campus in Rome has been in existence for 20 years now, and we have established very strong relationships with various other academic institutions and universities in the city, including La Sapienza, which is the largest university in Italy, as well as the Pontifical University of San Tommaso. Besides the classes that our students attend in our partner institutions, we also provide lodging, and we offer a variety of cultural learning opportunities through various field trips and activities to almost 100 students in a given academic year, in order to foster academic and personal growth, as well as intercultural understanding. In addition, we strive to prepare our students in gaining a global understanding and becoming better global citizens once they return home and once they graduate. I will turn it over to my colleague Amber from our Career Development Center, and she will share with you some information on our students' career path, employment, and other.
Thank you, Thanos. So the Career Development Center at the University of St. Thomas sits uniquely in the advancement division of our university, and we support the discernment and career growth of nearly 9,500 undergraduate students and graduate students, as well as our vast alumni network. In 2020, just over 93% of our graduates were situated within a year of graduation. And we have had a partnership with the Office of Study Abroad for decades at this point, which has resulted in career integration and programming for our students, both pre, during, and post-return from their global learning experiences. This micro internship program is just one of the many programs we have worked on together. Next slide, please. At St. Thomas, we recognize the importance of intercultural agility in the workplace, which is supported by research from both NAFSA and the National Association of Colleges and Employers. We also greatly value service to the communities that we live and work in. And as students and employers faced challenges due to COVID, Thanos started hearing from community partners in Rome about their needs. So we wanted to jump on this opportunity to provide unique skill building experience for our students and also support that community in Rome. I think now Thanos is going to tell us a little bit more about his partnerships.
Thanks, Amber. As Amber said, the role of our campus in Rome has been very crucial in searching, connecting, and establishing relationships with various small and big businesses in the city, starting first from our neighborhood and then expanding from there. Due to the negative consequences of the pandemic that we all know that have affected so many businesses, not only in Italy, but also all over the world, I discovered that introducing and presenting the micro internship program first to Italian employers that I had already worked with in the past when we used to have students studying in Rome. Our internship program has been viewed as a very innovative and interesting initiative to them due to the fact that they could not only continue collaborating with our university as they used to in the past, but also due to the shortage of personnel in their business. They could take on an American student who could virtually work on a particular project that due to the pandemic, it has been put on the back burner. And the reward for our students, simply the opportunity to virtually have and complete an internship with an employer from Italy would be such a rewarding intercultural working experience. Some of the internship postings we have received include, but not limited, working for freelance journalists that promote Italian tourism through various social media platforms, or working on projects relating to the alumni of one of our partner institutions. Once a given employer submits their project proposal to us, then the project description gets posted immediately on our university's website, a particular special website that has been designed for this particular program, and is available for any of our students to view, pick, and choose. Once a student shows an interest in a particular micro internship and they complete a certain form, including the submission of their resume and other samples of work, then we notify the employer. If the employer decides to interview the student, then we notify the student, and prior to the interview, my colleague Amber and I set up a mini session with the student in order to prepare them for the interview in a global setting. Sarah will talk a little bit more about the logistics, the rest of the logistics of this program.
Thanks, Thanos. Yeah, as you mentioned, the Rome campus is an integral part of connecting the employers with the students and with the various offices here on the main campus. So the Office of Study Abroad is serving to be sort of the host of connecting everyone who's involved here, and we're facilitating the process of the application and enrollment, hosting the materials and the application information on our website, and then kind of connecting, serving as the spoke for all of those different things. Next slide, please. So with all of that being said, our vision was originally, of course, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, we wanted to create an accessible online program experience that is providing students with valuable and long-lasting intercultural and practical career skills, and also continue to build our partnerships out with people in Rome and eventually perhaps even further around the world. So how are we kind of doing this? What we define as accessible is both accessible in the sense of it's in an online format, meaning that students don't need to travel anywhere in order to participate in this. It's also accessible financially. It's a free program. There's no cost to students to participate in this program. And they also don't have to compete with students from other universities for this experience. It's uniquely provided for St. Thomas students. So they are competing with their own fellow peers, but not with the masses of students that might be applying for other types of internship opportunities online. The intercultural skills are still going to come into play in a program like this, even though the students are not physically located in a different space. They will be able to interact with employers from different countries who have different cultural backgrounds, different language sets, and they'll still get that intercultural learning. They'll also still get tangible career skills, even though they are not physically present in an office with other employees. They'll still be able to learn how to be flexible and work in a remote way. And we're hoping to continue these partnerships into the future. So as Thanos sort of alluded to, we do a lot of different things to prepare the students and then get them through the process. So on the next slide, he will explain to you kind of how that starts.
I think I have already covered. So I will turn it over to Sarah to expand on the rest of the logistics. Yep.
Yeah, I'll just jump in, and we still use, even though this is an online program, we still use our PreDeparture on-site and post-return to kind of describe the different phases of the experience for students. So Thanos talked a lot about what we do with students to prepare them for their internship. Once the students are accepted into an internship, we do provide them with a lot of culture general information about working across cultures, intercultural skill development, as well as tools to reflect on their own cultural background. We also then, because our internships right now are just in Italy, we provide them with Italian culture specific information, Italian work-life culture, and then we facilitate that first meeting for the student with their internship supervisor. From there, the students are expected to work about 40 hours over 6 to 8 weeks. So these are very much part-time micro internships, very project-based. We do expect the students to meet with their internship supervisor about once a week, whether that's live, in a Zoom meeting or FaceTime, or whether it's just communicating by email or some other communication function. We want them to be communicating regularly with their internship supervisor. And then we've also set up bi-weekly check-in meetings for the students to meet with the internship team at St. Thomas, just so we can talk with the students about how things are going, address concerns, but also begin discussions and reflections about the skills that they are gaining through the internship, whether those be digital fluency skills, global work skills, intercultural skills. What are they noticing in the workplace, helping them debrief some of their experiences. I'll turn it over to Amber to talk about the post-return support.
Yeah, so speaking of having opportunities to debrief their experiences, upon return, students will have an opportunity to participate in our Marketing Your International Experience workshop, which we have done for decades at this point. And they'll also receive individual support from the Career Development Center in articulating those skills and competencies that they have built during this global micro internship experience. We really want them to have the opportunity to understand the impact of work that they have done. I'm going to turn it back to Sarah to take a moment to talk about some of our successes and some of our challenges in implementing this program. Next slide, please.
Sorry about that. Couldn't find the mute button. So yeah, this is a relatively new program for us. We launched it in December. And as Thanos said, we've had incredible success, or Thanos has had incredible success connecting with potential employers in Italy, in Rome. And we're really proud of the range of internship options that we have available to our students. And then through those bi-weekly meetings that we have with the internship participants and Thanos's communication with the internship supervisors, we know that the placements are going well. The students are gaining those work skills that we want them to gain through these experiences, as well as some of those soft intercultural development skills that we were hoping that they would gain. The organizations that students are working with are really benefiting from the extra assistance, and they're enjoying working with our students. So the internship placements are kind of working exactly as we had planned. But there are some challenges. We're continually trying to figure out how to communicate to students that an unpaid internship is still going to be a beneficial experience. I think increasingly students are expecting to be able to find paid internships, which we totally understand, but for lots of different reasons, these international experiences have to be unpaid educational experiences rather than a paid internship. So we're really trying to communicate with students some of those more intangible pieces of the experience, the global work skills, the intercultural skills, and explaining to them why this is beneficial and why it's actually worth 40 hours of an unpaid internship experience to gain those skills, to be able to put an experience like this on your resume. And then just from a logistical perspective, this is a completely different type of program than we have ever developed in the Office of Study Abroad before. And, we have policies and procedures in place for kind of the traditional on-site experience. But those programs, students are moving through the application, pre-departure, on-site, and post-return phases kind of in bigger cohorts. And this is a program where students apply individually and rolling admission. They're at all phases of the process at all different times. So we needed to build an application process that was manageable and a support structure that was sustainable so that a small team of staff could continue to support students year-round through these different kind of pieces in the process of an internship. I'll say there were, some initial bumps in the road in the application process, and I suspect we will continue to make changes as the program continues to grow and develop in the future. And I think I will turn it back to Amber now to talk about, what that future might look like. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Sarah. So while we hope to be able to return to quote unquote normal operations in the near future, with students being able to travel abroad and engage in these global career building experiences, we recognize that this program is really accessible and it's convenient. And we want to be able to continue that, both for our students and for those community partners. We know that we're in a unique situation with Thanos in Rome and our ability to build out the program there, but we really hope to be able to grow it beyond Rome and engage global partners and some of our alumni who are in need of this similar support in skills-based project work. As we work with more and more students and build out these experiences, we're assessing their needs post-return. We really want to help them, like I said earlier, understand the impact and the value of this experience, because they're building competency in teamwork and collaboration, digital technology, work ethic, and global and intercultural fluency. And those are all really essential skills in the 21st century workplace. So we want our post-program support to grow. We want to encompass perhaps a career curriculum, a course for them to go through, an alumni and employer network to facilitate those connections, and mentoring between students who have completed their micro internships and students that are currently or perhaps will be doing a micro internship. And then last but certainly not least, we really do want these opportunities to be paid, to have a stipend. Like Sarah said, there are a lot of reasons that right now they can't be, some of them legal, but we want to be able to seek out some funding to provide scholarships or grants to students who are doing this work, because we recognize that it is valuable. We also may need to seek some financial resources for staff time as well. We are all doing this as kind of in addition to our regular duties, the other duties as assigned parts of our job, but it's been really successful and we think it's a great program. So we really want to be able to invest in this program. So we're excited to hear any questions that you have. I think Lauren has some that she might get us started with, but feel free to put your questions in the chat for us to answer.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Amber, University of St. Thomas team, as well as Nima with University of Maryland. I do have a few guided questions, but really invite the audience to also use the Q&A function, well, the chat function to ask any questions of your own. With that, I am going to go ahead and ask my first one, which is the fact that both of your programs were responsive at a time that was just kind of really hard to know exactly what was going on. There was a lot of uncertainty. There was a lot of complexity. I think there was a lot of ambiguity of exactly how you might move forward, what the realities of COVID-19 were, as well as what the limitations were, and kind of knowing what students need. All that in mind, we know everyone experienced this in some way, but everyone responded in a different way too. So how did you approach implementing your program, knowing that it was hard to know exactly what was going to be happening next?
So on our end, we leaned into it, and it was the reason we created it in the first place. We told the students participating, we don't know what tomorrow is going to look like, and we want your feedback actively to evolve this program as we move forward through every iteration. We asked our alumni, we don't know where we should take this program. How would you shape this if this was your real professional opportunity leading this team? And we asked our partners what would be most useful for you moving forward. So we very much put the onus back onto everyone participating to give us that guidance where we didn't have it. We came up with this idea in the middle of April and launched it about 6 weeks later. So we very much were implementing as we go forward, and every iteration that we've done for the 3 so far has had its own different twist to it. So it was very exciting being able to see how the program has evolved and how it will continue to evolve in the future moving forward.
I will jump in. I will agree with a lot of what Nima said in terms of the fact that we created this in response to a volatile and confusing situation. Because we knew that our students and our community partners would benefit. I think we embraced it with a lot of honesty and willingness to try it and see how it goes. And our student participants have been really fantastic in giving feedback and letting us know how it's going, so that we can understand what we may need to improve, what resources we might need to add. And we're kind of going with the flow, which is, I think, about all you can do these days.
Absolutely.
I'll just also add, so we officially launched this program in December. So definitely not in the 6-week turnaround that Nima mentioned. But part of that is because we were having continuing conversations with Thanos in Rome, with faculty at St. Thomas, and then with Amber about what types of experiences are going to best serve our students in this time. So we had multiple conversations of how we could engage with our partners in Rome to provide international experiences to our students. And as Thanos talked more and more with his partners in Rome, this micro internship idea kind of came to the forefront of like, this seems like this would be a really good fit for both our students and our partners in Rome.
I would agree with all of that, and also add that We haven't had a full cohort of students actually complete their internship all the way through. There's multiple students right now who are actively participating in an internship and they're almost done with the program. But once they actually complete it, we're hoping to gain a lot more information from them at that time about how to continue to make those improvements, because their feedback so far, as Amber mentioned, has been really helpful, that they are giving us continuous feedback as they're going through the program. But once they actually complete it, I think that will be more helpful for us as well to keep designing with intention.
That's great, thank you. And I think that actually segs into my next question, which was really transparent in both of the conversations about each of your programs, was that partnership was critical. How do you recommend approaching developing, maintaining, and adapting meaningful partnerships? Is there any insight you learned along the way on how to manage partnerships or how to maximize them, since some of these partnerships were already in place, to really benefit the experience that you're trying to achieve?
I think for us, in addition to the natural partnerships discussed, it was looking at where else we could integrate in each of these organizations or individuals' lives outside of the fellowship. So for a lot of our alumni consultant advisors, they might have reached out and said, I'm actually looking for career pivot, and another consultant advisor might have been able to support them. For a lot of the companies we work with, the nonprofits and B Corps, they might have had other projects they're working on and realizing that another organization in the fellowship or an alumni or another person in our network might be helpful. So for us, we really removed the boundaries of a scope of work and really focused on, it's a volatile situation for the whole world. Where else can we support outside of these 7 students working on a project for your organization?
For us, as far as like approaching and developing these partnerships, well, for me, at least, just being in Rome and being here for so many years, being in a country that everything is based on relationship building, it was easy to get out and get my hands dirty and approach all these different partners that, as I said previously, we used to work with. I mean, they are familiar with our campus here in the city. They know me. They used to know our students. So, because of the pandemic, everything changed. So everybody, a lot of these employers were looking into different ways of continuing their work. And unfortunately, Rome being a big tourist city, all of a sudden, over a year now, we are a city with no tourists, and we're still on our 3rd lockdown. So a lot of people have been very, very creative in finding new ways of still staying connected with the rest of the world and still do the things that they used to in the past, of course, in a more creative way, using all different different social media platforms. So that's why, at least personally and professionally, approaching all these different employers, they were fascinated and interested by this initiative that our university took over, the micro internships, because for them it would be a way to continue working on different projects, you know, and still maintaining that collaboration with our university, and also welcome on board American students, American university students.
That's great. What I'm hearing is that there were a lot of relationships that were already existing that you were able to then have a sense of trust. I know there's a conversation or kind of a theme of it's really important to always move at the speed of trust in whatever space that is. So if that's pre-built within it, it makes it a little bit easier sometimes to navigate those relationships, or having other examples then allows others in the community to kind of rely on you. So that makes a lot of sense in that regard. My next question, and I'd love to hear this first from University of St. Thomas, from whoever's perspective, is just kind of how did doing something new create value for your community? I know you mentioned taking a little bit of time with when you started the program, but that it hadn't existed before. So what would you say was the value that was created as a result of trying something new within this project?
Yeah, I will jump in and say that we have been thinking about work abroad and intern abroad initiatives and programs for quite some time, but it's such a daunting task to start something like that. And where do you start? So when this opportunity presented itself, we kind of saw it as like, this is the time, this is our chance to give it a go. And we knew that we would be supporting those partners in Rome and our students would get great experience. So it seemed like a really kind of low risk try, because even if it didn't end up working in the long term, we knew that it would make an impact in the short term. And as it's turning out, it is working, and we really do want to continue it. And that's, where I say we may need to expand resources for programs like these, because I think beyond COVID, even when things are able to return to something that we might call normal, students are going to want these experiences. They're really accessible. Perhaps we will be able to take them offline and be in person, which would be fabulous, but we really want to continue the online option, because there are a lot of students that cannot afford to study abroad, or they just can't do it. It doesn't fit into their life. And this is a great opportunity for them to get some of that global and intercultural experience that they would not otherwise get.
Great, thank you. And then Nima, for you, what was the value of creating something new?
For us, we've done experiential learning and project-based learning for our community before. The new portion of this was focused on the cross-disciplinary function of different levels of students working together, and it's really opened the floodgates where others are looking at partnerships. It's tougher with coursework, but seeing in the co-curricular atmosphere where we can have different student bodies, even if it's minors and majors, working together, and where we can really expand our cross-campus presence. We've started looking at even mixes of engineering and business school students focused on social impact and at a social and environmental level. So very much focusing on, we don't need to work with one group. We can purposely drive those cross-functional teams.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I'll ask another question or two, but again, invite anyone from the audience to think, if you do have a question, feel free to put it in the chat, as well as all the kind of peers and colleagues on the panel. I know I've been asking most of the conversation questions so far, but if you have a question for one another or from the different university perspective, feel free to unmute and use your mic to ask those questions. So my next question for this discussion is just really, in what ways did your program encourage change making? I know we talked about that a little bit throughout, but if you were to say kind of why the experience you created was a signature change making effort at your location, like what were the values and tenets that you think are core to approaching and encouraging students in particular to be change makers in the work that they do?
I think for us, it was a shift of mindset on volunteerism and student-based work. We have 26 different clubs in our business school that have community service requirements, and they were struggling to find ways to meet those requirements in a virtual world. Seeing this program in the summer really shifted their mindset to, let's find partner organizations and do skills-based volunteerism instead of task-based volunteerism. So it has been a mindset shift on what community service can look like in a collegiate atmosphere for a lot of our students and how they're change makers.
I would say similar to us, that it's a shift in what students perceive of what an internship can be. As some of my colleagues mentioned earlier in the presentation, students are really used to a traditional type of internship where it's in person, it's long form, you don't necessarily have one task you're working on, rather a multitude of things that could change as you go on with that employer. But this really kind of flipped, I think, the narrative of what an internship means and what it can be, and that it doesn't have to fall within these rigid definitions, and that we have the tools to expand it and change it to be more to fit the needs of what students are looking for right now.
I will add that, St. Thomas's mission statement kind of boils down to, we educate morally responsible leaders who think critically, act wisely, and work skillfully to advance the common good. And this is really showing students how they can work skillfully and make significant contributions to communities, and not just the community like here in the US, in the Twin Cities, but that we, as a university and as students, faculty, and staff really want to serve the broader global community and the global St. Thomas community. So it's a really unique opportunity, not only in the ways that Jen mentioned, but in showing students the value of thinking globally, and how you're going to need these skills and this knowledge as you approach the world of work. So we hope that this will inspire the students that participate to be change makers and contribute when they're in the workplace as well.
And also, the good thing is that some of the students that are now actively participating in the program, some of them, yes, are students that have been, that they have already studied in Rome. They have been a part of the study abroad in Rome, but others, haven't been to Rome. They haven't studied. They haven't had that experience in studying in the city. So that's great to see both different types of students to engage this opportunity.
No, that's great. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask each other? I have more. I can ask questions all day, but just want to give that invitation. Okay, then I will keep going. I know, Nima, when you talked about your program, you had listed some really compelling kind of participatory metrics, which I think makes it clear that you were probably being intentional of what you were tracking along the way and how you were assessing the value of the program. And I think, Jen, you also mentioned your program is actively happening right now. You're already getting feedback loops, signal loops, but that there's going to be some intentionality around what the outcomes have been. But if any of you have just suggestions generally on what you think is important to measure success for dynamic partnerships like this, I think there's evidence of strengths from both perspectives of how you're approaching this, and it would be great to hear as well for people who are really thinking of doing something similar maybe at their institutions.
I think on our end, the biggest metric was the impact on our students and our greater community. We weren't tracking, like both programs, in an ideal world, they could have pay, they could have opportunities, but for us, it was having the greatest impact on our students in this unpredictable time. I think the metric that we don't have yet that I'm very excited to see in a few months is the impact their work did on the organizations, and if there's a quantifiable value a year later on the organization, if there was a growth of this, did it result in anything from a grant to a partnership to additional revenue or cutting of costs. But that's the number I'd be very excited to see in a few months of where did this work have a long-term impact on that organization that we worked with.
Yeah, Nima, I think that that would be really interesting for us as well, because of course we want this to be mutually beneficial. We want the students to have a really good experience and learn a lot and take away a lot of skills, but we also hope that they're giving back just as much to the organization that they're working with and providing a need. So it'll be interesting for us to see as more students go through if there's anything we can gain from the employers that they worked with to see how did this student impact your organization? How did they impact it in the short term and the long term? And it is, I think, hard to get like hard quantitative data on that in some senses, because it is sort of just anecdotal of the employer saying like, yep, we had a great experience, we're doing this or that. But depending on what the employer does, if they do have like a product that they're selling certain units of, maybe we can measure that of, did this increase your production or did it increase your sales or different things like that? Or if, for instance, some of our students are working with social media with their employer, so are they driving more traffic to those social media sites? Can we gather those stats to show that there's an actual impact happening as a result of their participation?
I think I will add to what Jen said in the fact that, you know, we built this on relationships. And as Thanos mentioned, that's a big part of Italian culture and many other cultures. And that's, you know, part of why it may be difficult to get, you know, some of more of that quantitative numerical data, because, you know, these employers are going to tell us anecdotally how things are going and those kinds of things. And they're also very, very small organizations, many of them, which is why we wanted to help and have our students help. So I think, you know, for us is just really making sure that we're keeping track of those stories that are being told, because those will be really impactful to be able to tell later, to tell future participants, to, you know, justify why this program is worth investing in.
And I think in an ideal world too, and perhaps you want to do this at your school as well, Nima, I don't know, but it would be in an ideal situation so nice to know if when these students are going out into the workforce, if we could also gather data in that way of, did this experience have a direct correlation with you gaining successful employment, or was there something about this opportunity that you were able to showcase that you had some type of skill or some type of ability that helped you get to that next level in your career? So from the career development side, Amber, I don't know if there's like metrics that you all use to track that with, you know, just our regular graduates who haven't participated in these programs, but if we could additionally find some way to track that as well for these programs, I think that could be really interesting too, to show students who are newly considering applying, like, look, this has tangible benefits for you in your career.
I absolutely love that idea. That's a phenomenal suggestion, Jen.
No, that's great. I think it speaks to one of the strengths too, which is this is an opportunity now that hopefully will propel you into the future. I'm always a big fan of, I want to see the data, but if you don't have a story, if there's not something qualitative in how you're communicating, it's a lot harder to understand the richness of the value of the experience. So it sounds great that you all are approaching it from both perspectives. and being really student-centered with that focus of forward motion and kind of how did this benefit the organizations, but also how did it benefit the students along the way. My final question, and I hope everyone can answer this one, is just how did you grow as a practitioner in this process? So you all were working on a new project, hopefully that created opportunity in your own experience as a professional. So I'd love to hear what you think that kind of growth looks like or continues to look like for you all.
Well, oh, go ahead, Nima.
After you.
Okay, thank you. For me, it certainly continued growing the relationships with my colleagues, with the team, and the offices, particularly the Office of Study Abroad and Career Development Center. As someone who continuously is looking for opportunities for professional growth, development. I mean, this has been one of those, as well as it has also been beneficial because besides working in the present, I'm also building these relationships. I have also kept an eye into the future when I will have my students back again here in Rome. Hey, there are so many things, that so many partners, that we could collaborate, that we could work with, that I could present my students to. So a lot of new opportunities, have come up through this initiative, and I know there will be even more great opportunities both for the University of St. Thomas home campus and Rome campus, as well as for whoever employer we are working with. Nima.
I'd say for me, it's a lot of focusing on allowing the process to roll out and knowing that you don't have the answers or the right solution, and trusting whoever it might be in the process, from the wide-eyed freshman to the 15 years out alumni to the corporate partner, to give you that feedback. I think with a lot of our programming, it has been reiterating, and this is one of our first major pieces of programming that was started from scratch. And it was very nice being able to have a holistic feedback approach for this and just opening those floodgates very purposely.
I think for me, this was an opportunity to really demonstrate career development outside of just our university. We know that these types of experiences are so important for our students to have, not only in building those work-related skills, but building the intercultural skills and the ability to work with a diverse group of people. And so many of our students, I think now more than ever, are going to be working with people across the globe and people from different cultures here in the United States. So, this was the catalyst for thinking about other programming, other opportunities, and hoping to expand micro-internships or internships across the world for our students, because they add that extra punch to an internship experience. It's just like bonus on top of what an internship already provides.
I would say, I think kind of similar to Nima, this is the first time in my career at St. Thomas that we have started a program completely from scratch with no template. We start new study abroad programs and new on-campus programming, but there's always a template in place that we can work from. We're following similar processes and procedures. And this is the first time that it was just like, hey, we have this really great new opportunity. Let's try to make this work. And so I think just the need to be flexible and to deal with the ambiguity and all those skills that we tell students that you're going to gain from an international experience, developing this program was a practice in using those skills. We're going to be able to figure this out. This is going to be a really great experience. We just have to give it time. And we continue to have conversations and to continue to build those partnerships. And it was it was just a really good opportunity to practice the skills that we hope our students gain.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all. I think unless there are any other questions from either the chat or from one another, we may end a few minutes early, but just want to thank everyone for being part of this conversation and sharing their perspectives, their program successes, and that reality of what it means to work within uncertainty, but to also maximize opportunity through the relationships and partnerships from a variety of perspectives. So we all go further and faster when we don't go alone, I think, and that's a really great reminder. So thank you for sharing your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for facilitating, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.